Thanks for coming out.
No problem, man.
So thanks for watching, you guys. Subscribe to our YouTube channel on KeyHR Orlando, where this is our series of Keys to Success, where we are interviewing people in our community, community leaders, business leaders, thought leaders from all walks of life that are just like you. You know, they've been through certain things in life, they've overcome them to be successful and serve others, and that's what today is about. And I'm really excited to introduce you really to my brother in service, Marcus Brown. He runs IHopeMentoring. He's been doing that for the last 4 years. He had a nonprofit before that called IHope that he ran almost for 8 years. And we've done a lot of good work in the community together. We just got through feeding families, about 100 families here in West Orlando, during our turkey drive. It's the second year that I was involved in it. And I have to tell you that it's a passion of mine. And there's no higher calling than to feed people and to love people. And that's something that I love doing. And you do that really better than everybody through mentoring the young men that you mentor right here in Orlando. And then very similar backgrounds like myself and like yourself, where I grew up and I got into a little bit of trouble. And I had to get out of it by going to the military and basically running away from my circumstances. But you stayed in the community. You haven't ran away from anything. And you've served and doubled down on making sure that these young men have what they need. So I want to tell you thank you so much. I want to tell you thank you from the bottom of my heart. And let's tell them a little bit about your background and how you got into IHope Mentoring.
First, man, I want to say thank you again for having me, and thank you for the pleasant words and well wishes and everything, and all of the support that you have supported me over the last couple of years. But how did I get into IHope Mentoring? I would say I had to become something that I needed for the youth. So with me changing my life back in 2007, I kind of was, leaving the streets alone and saying, I'm tired of this. I don't want the money anymore because the money wasn't coming anymore. I don't want the hassle. I don't want to, lose my life to things that didn't matter. So I kind of just left Orlando, went to Baltimore. My only goal was to go to school and get a job. That led to 2 degrees and started my own company 8 years later. Well, I was there 7 years later, and 8 years after starting everything. So I came back to Orlando and just kind of like, hey, like you say, coming from the streets and coming from that background, and you don't know what you're doing or what you're taking away from that community. So I figured, hey, how can I give back now? I see how I was a plague, I would say, how I was a problem in that community. How can I give back? So, I had a team of mine, and my brother George, who I met in college, he was like, let's do this, let's feed the homeless. So we went out and fed the homeless one time, and that led to us now being 8 years in, feeding the homeless every month, doing toy drives, the turkey drive that you just spoke of, year 2 for you, year 8 for us.
Yeah.
And it was all just about giving back, man. It was just like, I had to find a way to not just say I changed my life, I went to school, but what I'm now going to come back and impact my community with, being that I took so much away from the community.
Yeah, I felt the same way as well. And I look back at the bad decisions I made, and maybe some of the people that I hurt by not keeping my word, right? By not living honorably and doing the right thing. That was a big reason why, also too here at KHR, why we give back is because we understand that when we are gifted with resources, when we're gifted with the ability to live the life we want, it is on us to make sure that we put that back into the community and give that to people who need it, because we're not any different, man. Like, we might look different, we might come from different backgrounds, but underneath all of this, right, there's a connection of not just brotherhood or sisterhood, of just being humans and all going through the same thing. And so anybody hearing this, anybody going through something that might be difficult, service is a huge way to really get out of your own way and look at parts of the community that really need you. And when I realized no matter where I'm at, I have the ability to at least wake up and go serve someone else, it really helps and it puts things into perspective. So speaking of service and the spirit of that, what are you seeing now with these young men in our inner city here in Orlando? What are you seeing are like the top 3 or 4 problems that you're dealing with?
My top 3 or 4 problems that I'm seeing is improper influence, which leads to the gun violence, and of course poverty. The world has poverty, of course, but right here in my community, right here in my neighborhoods, I'm saying that we have adopted a mindset of feeling like I can't become more, I can't achieve more, that this is pretty much, I have a cap. So being that I only have that cap, we don't seek to go above that cap, but we kind of dwell underneath it where all of the bad things happen. And it's leading to deaths. It's leading to a lot of young adults. I mentor, as you said, I mentor kids 7, 17, and then I also mentor, the 25 to almost 30 range as well. But their main thing is I want some money. I want to change the dynamics of my household, or send my mom struggle. But they're getting away from getting a job. They're getting away from things that can actually provide sustainability inside the household, and they're just alluding to, let me go rob someone, let me go take someone, let me go steal from someone, and or let me go kill someone. And the killing has become heightened, and that's scary, because it's not like what are we saying as adults, as mentors, as pillars in the community? How are we actually leading to where they feel like we just have to kill each other? Because we're not doing it. The older generation is not doing it, it's the young generation. So, like, my biggest fight along with my counterparts, my counterparts are other people, other men, other organizations that's in this fight with me to help eradicate the youth violence, to the poverty, and increase the sustainability of these families. Man, we're trying to figure this out and make something more sustainable for them so they can get away from the violence.
Right, and you're feeling a legitimate role, man. Like, a lot of these kids don't have fathers. Like, I didn't have a father growing up. I didn't know my father until I was 28 years old, 27 years old. I just got back from my 3rd combat deployment. You know what I mean? We experienced a little bit of homelessness. We experienced not having food or electricity, going home and turning on the light and not knowing if you have electricity. Where do you turn? You turn wherever you can, I'll be honest with you. So if it's a friend that has a car, and right or wrong, maybe they don't mean anything bad, but maybe they're doing illicit things to generate revenue, right? And you just turn to them and you're like, well, I don't have any food, so I'll roll with you. And then that's where it starts. It starts with not having a solid nuclear family, which we can't do anything about, right? We can't make families stay together. But what we can do is be mentors through IHope. What we can do is be consistent and teach these kids consistency and discipline, right? And when you do that, you start to listen to yourself. And then something starts to bubble up within you. And you start realizing, wait a minute, there is some love in here. There isn't hate. There isn't anger. There isn't fear. But when you grow up in an environment of lack and fear, you know what that does, bro.
Exactly.
You know what that does. And so now that we know that, and you guys are doing the mentoring and you're doing that, what do you think are the next steps for the community? Like, what do you think writ large our community can do? Anybody that's hearing this,
I'm gonna appeal to the men. I'm
Okay.
gonna appeal to the men, to the fathers. We have to step up. We have to hold ourselves more accountable. And I say that because I go back to what I was saying earlier. How are we leading? Right? I have talks with our boys. I've never stopped talking because someone is going to get it. But we condone a lot of stuff until it hits our front door. So my thing is, if I'm in my neighborhood and I see a young man walking around with a gun on his hip and his pants is pulled down, I can't get him to put the gun down, but I can get him to put his pants up. I'm gonna start there. I'm not gonna, high five him or shy away or make it seem like that's cool what he's doing.
Yeah.
Hey man, at least pull your pants up. Try to show him different behaviors and also let him see in myself things that he can model behind. Because now, if he can see it, we can show other opportunities. If you look up to me and you think that I'm cool or I'm something that you can gravitate towards, and I have to show you something other than what you're used to seeing. And that comes with the men. That comes with the men in the community. I'm a mentor, not by trade or by my company, but it's a calling. I feel like every man has a conversation that he can give to a young man, to a youth that's mentoring. Right. So once you do that, I've seen a lot of single conversations go a long way and change kids' lives. But us as men, we have to step up. We have to say, you know what? Let's stop these images. And I actually want to add this on there because I was thinking about it. The kids are imitating images of things, places, people, beings, rappers, artists, all these things that they're seeing. They're creating this image of themselves. I've seen A and B students, no trouble, but they have an image of a person that's getting in all of the trouble, and before you know it, they start to gravitate towards it because they're trying to become something that's not of them. So now that we change this image, let the kid know it's okay to be the nerd. It's okay to have your pants put up. It's okay to look a certain way and still be accepted. You don't have to go this route, because now when you go this route, you inherit the thing that comes with that. So that's kind of my biggest appeal. Let's go to the man. Let's try to, let's step it up more. Let's be more intentional with saving these lives of the youth.
No, and that's true, man. Like, teaching them to be themselves.
Yeah.
And, they're in ancient and traditional societies a long, long time ago. There was always a ritual for a young man to become a man, right? And I got that when I was in the Marine Corps, fortunately, through some of my mentors. But there was a rite of passage. When you're 12, 13, whatever, you're no longer a kid anymore, right? Because they had to go out and they had to help hunt, or they had to help in the fields, or they had to help doing things to keep the family going. And when you don't have a solid father figure to bring that rite of passage and to, hey, you are a young man now. You're becoming an adult. How do you do that, right? That's what's missing in our society, is that kind of rite of passage to that next stage of our lives. And like you're saying, if all they're getting is images of things outside of themselves that don't match their circumstances, that don't match who they are mentally, physically, and spiritually, they're going to go wherever they think that influence is. And unfortunately, it continues to be violence in our neighborhoods. It continues to be anger, and it continues to be a generational mindsets that I even experienced in even my own communities in Texas of lack, when really there isn't. But that's why we need mentors like you.
And to add to that, as we're doing the keys to success,
Yeah.
right? Any successful person or have gained any type of success has something that they value. And when they valued it, they treat it a certain way to gain that certain success. So if you look at the youth, value has been lost, right? So if you lose the value in yourself or have not discover how valuable you are, you're going to treat yourself as less than. So you're not going to achieve more. You're not going to want to go to school. You're not going to want to get good grades. You're not going to want to get a job. You're not going to want to be an upstanding citizen in the community and then look forward to the future of an entrepreneur, a businessman, a family man, a man of God. You're not going to want to do that because all value has been lost. So now, us as men in the community at large, we have to install the values, let the positive affirmations, and let these young men and the youth in general know that you are valued. You can become something. If they can see themselves in another light, most likely they can strive toward it. They can, I can start walking towards that. But if you're never hearing, seeing, or dwelling in things that doesn't promote advancement in life.
Right.
If you can't see someone and say, you know what, I can become it. And we're not talking about the LeBrons or the actors. We're not talking about. We're talking about your neighbor. We're talking about your uncle. We're talking about someone you go to school with. We have to show them exactly how valuable they are. So once they start to take their value seriously, just like how they like the Jordans and the different clothes. On the Air Force, you see kids walking around and they'll walk to where they don't crease the shoe, so they're walking like a duck because they see value in the shoe, so they're going to treat it highly. Imagine if they see that same value in themselves, right? How they're going to walk, how they're going to talk, how they're going to present themselves. Therefore, a lot of the violence and the things that they're gravitating to, I value myself too much. I have too much to lose, right? They don't know what they have to lose because they don't see the value.
Right.
We have to reinstall that.
Yeah, we do. We have to reinstall that. And one way to do that, as you know, is through meditation. There's prayer, there's service. You have to create that value within yourself because the body keeps score of everything, man. Especially, I learned this after a couple of combat tours, is that your body holds the trauma, right? And we're still working through it as men, your body stores it. So how do you work through that, And I think that's something that you do is you teach them to understand that. And let's wrap it up a little bit here too. And let's talk about your keys to success. Like, what are the top 3 things from a nonprofit perspective? Maybe somebody's going to hear this that's running a nonprofit. What are the top 3 things of your success inside of your nonprofit?
I consider it a nonprofit. I'm going to just say in general, my first key to success would be prayer. Like I said, I'm a man of God, so I always consult God about everything. I don't look for my right or wrong. I listen for his right or wrong.
Sure.
And however he wants it to go, that's how it's going to go. His will be done. So that's my first key to success. My second key to success is being patient. Because now once you pray for something, you have to wait.
Oh, yeah.
You have to wait.
But you have to work consistently, too. That's what people forget.
Yeah.
That's what you forget.
And that goes into my third point because they say faith without works is dead, but people construct that into feeling like you have to be busy. Sometimes, and what I've noticed, I would say, in personal use is my work actually came in exercising my faith in what I prayed for.
Yeah.
So if I prayed for this and I'm continuously going in the route that I'm going, but I'm actually patiently waiting. So therefore, I'm not praying for something and still becoming anxious and frantic and still trying to make it happen on my own accord. I'm going to wait and still continue on my path. So I would say prayer, patience, and work your faith, right? In all things, nonprofit businesses, you will see the fruits of your labor, right? If you're called to something, if you're called to anything and you do it correctly, most likely you will succeed in it. But you have to be patient in that process.
Right.
Take your time with it. So you'll see it work.
Yeah, and that's one thing too I want to let our readers know is patience is not a passive quality. Patience is very active, all right? It's a law that we can't get away from. When you exercise patience within yourself and you work consistently, don't overwork yourself. Patience will actively work in your life for you as a very super quality that will continue to move you forward. So I want to tell you thank you for that. Everybody go to IHopeMentoring.org. .com. So everybody go to IHopeMentoring.com. And one thing that we didn't get to hit on, but we want to wrap it up is, Marcus definitely and his program can use more wraparound services. And what I mean by that is when these kids go home and they go back to their home life, what else are we helping them with to have some type of wraparound service 24/7 that they can tap into? Like studying mentors, how to eat healthy, maybe how to meditate, how to use prayer, all these things. So if you're hearing this in the community, go to his pages, check him out, reach out to him, and you'll be very happy that you did. I know that I am. I know that we're very fortunate here at KHR to be your partner. And I want to tell you thank you for coming on here today, man.
Thank you, man.
All right, well.